If you're one of those people who thinks that this thing should have a V8 in it and that the V6 twin turbo isn't fast enough, you're so wrong. It's like a rally car. I really don't think anybody should be going this fast. What is going on out there in YouTube land, you guys? Matt McAdam here, aka Desert Chief, only on Driving Lines Chasing Dust. And guys, I've literally been waiting years to make this episode because finally, after 2.5 long years, I have in my possession a Ford Bronco. And not only is it a Ford Bronco, but it is the 2022 Ford Bronco Raptor. I'm so happy I could cry. I've only had the keys to this behemoth for like 3 weeks, but I've had it in a few different off-road environments so far just to get acquainted with it and see what it can do. And after those couple of trips, I think I've arrived at a conclusion that's gonna hurt some feelings. I think this might be the best off-road vehicle ever produced. Yeah, sorry Jeep guys. I know that sounds like clickbait, but you don't have to take my word for it. Just do a search on Bronco Raptor review on YouTube and you'll find dozens and dozens of videos that are reviewing this vehicle. The problem is most of those guys, most of them, not all of them, aren't used to driving heavily modified, very capable off-road vehicles. So their initial reaction is going to be the same as mine, is really, this is an amazing car. But it comes with a little bit more weight when you have somebody like myself who's been building off-road trucks that are specific to literally just going fast and crawling all over crazy terrain all the time, saying the same thing. Because trust me guys, I've driven vehicles that have over 100 grand in, suspension, motor, axles, drivetrain, everything you can think of. And I still think that this beats anything else I've ever driven off-road. But I know that I'm gonna have to show you guys and prove to you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So we're gonna hop in here. I'm up in my local trail system right here. We're gonna hop in and go do a little bit of trail riding. It's nothing crazy up here, so I can't really show you guys how high this thing can jump up here in the mountains. But I am gonna show you guys some of the capabilities and features of this vehicle and why I think that it is really the ultimate off-road rig. But before we get going, I wanna tell you guys kind of a sad but funny story. You guys can laugh at my expense, it's totally fine. I had a set of KMC Grenade Desert beadlock wheels and 37-inch Nitto Recon Grapplers ready to go on this vehicle. I knew I was going to get the car, so I had those ready to go. I was super stoked. I had them custom powder coated. I bought monster valves from Power Tank because those KMC wheels actually have 2 valve stem holes in them. So I was so excited last week to get those on there and do this episode with those wheels and tires on there. And then I went to go bolt them on the car and I realized that Ford did a little change up on us. They actually changed the bolt pattern on this vehicle from a standard Bronco 6-on-5.5 to a full-size F-150 6x135, which at the time made 0 sense to me. I was super pissed at Ford for doing that because I already had those wheels. I thought they were going to be the same bolt pattern as the regular Bronco, but sure enough, they changed it because it does have Raptor suspension and Raptor rear axles. They changed it to the Raptor bolt pattern, which is 6-on-135. So I spent a lot of time building those wheels and tires, and I didn't get to run them on this vehicle. However, what I did do was I changed the tires alone. I kept the factory wheels on this thing, and I went ahead and swapped out the 37 1250/17 BFG KO2s that came on this vehicle for the Recon Grapplers in the same size. And I did that for a very specific reason, because the stock tires that come on this vehicle, they're 37-inch BFG KO2s, they are just an all-terrain tire, but the C load range BFG KO2s are just extremely soft. The sidewalls are thin, they're not very durable. I've never really had a lot of great luck with them off-road, and I do a lot of off-road driving, and I've always had amazing luck with my Nittos. I've never actually had a puncture or slice or anything on a Nitto tire. So I had the Recon Grapplers on my Ranger, and I decided to put those on this Raptor as well. And so far, I'm absolutely loving it. So I put them on the stock wheels. The Recon Grapplers, Nitto's all new all-terrain tire. It can do anything. It really does excel in every kind of environment out there. Last weekend, we went to the desert to try to do this episode, but we got hit with a flash flood, and we had to drive through some of the stickiest, nastiest mud I have ever been in, and those tires did so amazing through that stuff. I mean, I couldn't even believe it. At some point, I could barely even see the tire anymore. There was just mud caked all over the tire, and they still made it through no problem. I just had it in four-wheel drive and drove the way you're supposed to drive through mud, and I was very, very, very impressed with the Recon Grapplers. Those tires really can do everything, and they're nice and quiet for highway driving. They're much stronger, much more durable, a lot stiffer sidewall when it comes to actually taking those hits and slicing on jagged rocks. You don't have to worry about it with the Recon Grappler. So that is the only modification that I've made on this vehicle. Otherwise, it is completely stock. You know, I've done a couple of things on the inside, but for performance sake, it's pretty much stock. So I just wanted to share that sad story with you guys because I was really looking forward to putting those KMCs on there. I do have the right ones coming, so I'm sure by the next episode, you guys will see those wheels on there as well. Okay, so I've broken it up into 5 different criteria for why I think the Bronco Raptor is the best off-road vehicle ever produced. The first one is the tires, the second is going to be the suspension, the third is going to be the performance, the fourth will be the chassis design, and the fifth is going to be some of the luxuries that come with this car. So the first point I want to make is about tires, and not specifically the kind of tires that are on the Bronco Raptor, but really it's the tire size. Because what I've learned after many, many years of building off-road vehicles is that the tire size that you want to run on a vehicle is the most crucial component to how you're going to build that vehicle. Everything from the body and the fenders to the drivetrain components, how strong they are, the gear ratios, the transmission ratios, the engine performance, you know, all of these things are going to be affected by the size tire that you want to run on your rig. So what I'm most impressed about on this vehicle is that Ford set out to engineer this Raptor with a 37-inch tire in mind, and they built everything else around the vehicle to accommodate that. And so I really think that they put a lot of thought into this and said, okay, well, if we put 35s on it, most people are going to want to lift it and put a bigger tire on there. A 37 is a very, very common size tire for off-road use. It is a great mixture between fast desert driving and rock crawling. It can do both very well. And of course, as the old saying goes, the bigger the tire, the smaller the hole, or the smaller the rock. Really made sense to Ford engineers to put a 37-inch tire on this vehicle if they want to position it as a factory-ready off-road capable SUV. But I think that the tire size is one of the most crucial components to building any vehicle, and Ford already did that for you. They built this vehicle to run a large off-road tire like a 37. All right, so right in front of me here is a little section that's going to show some of the articulation. There's some deep moguls here that go up this little hill. It's not very hard, but it is a good demonstration for the articulation of the Bronco Raptor suspension. Just nice and easy, kind of just find the right line through this. You can feel the left and right side compressing and decompressing the suspension here, but nice steady throttle, and it goes up even in four-wheel drive high with a very steep hill with a lot of ease. It's so nice. Even that breakover angle is great. And now reason number 2 for why I think the Bronco Raptor is the best off-road vehicle ever produced. I know you guys are gonna get really tired of me saying that, but it's so true. So number 2 is gonna be suspension. Now, when Ford set out to build the Bronco Raptor, they had already years and years of development and research and engineering into the F-150 Raptor. That truck has evolved over the years. It's always been a wider stance, longer travel, kind of bigger shocks than the factory F-150. However, when it came to the Gen 2 and Gen 3, they started moving to Fox live valve shocks. And Fox's live valve technology is really revolutionary and breakthrough in the off-road industry, because what it allows you to do is actually have a computer take all the inputs from the shock absorber itself, or the coilover in this case, and it measures shaft speed and all kinds of things in microseconds. It reads it thousands of times a second, and then it actually adapts the valving inside the shock to better suit the ride, to have it be softer or smoother or whatever it may be. Ford took that a step further and allowed you to actually change some of that dampening on the fly with the steering wheel. There's actually a button on the Raptor steering wheel that lets you set it from, you know, regular normal shock mode to sport, which is for, I would say, probably a little bit more spirited driving, and then into off-road mode, which is really, you know, it's going to be taking those hits a lot better. The compression, the rebound is tuned for this vehicle and this weight of this vehicle and those tires. So it's very well thought out in terms of suspension. They're actually 3.1 diameter Fox coilovers. That's huge. Most people will, you know, put a King or a Fox coilover as an aftermarket component, you know, as an OEM replacement, and it's usually about a 2.5 inch diameter shock. This has 3.1 inch diameter coilovers on all four corners. You know, Jeep Wranglers, Jeep Gladiators, they have to do a coilover conversion just to run a coilover on those vehicles. The Bronco Raptor comes with those coilovers bone stock. So that's a huge value that you don't have to do yourself. Furthermore, the suspension type here, we're talking about IFS front, and it's a 4-link with a panhard bar or a track bar at the back. Does very, very well for most situations. I know you Jeep guys, you solid axle guys, you're gonna fight with me tooth and nail on this, telling me that why would you say an IFS vehicle is the best performing off-road vehicle out there? Well, I have my reasons for that, because 90% of people who own Jeep Wranglers will never need that last bit of articulation that a solid axle will provide for you. The IFS is far, far superior to a solid axle in most driving conditions, including off-road conditions. Now, there are always exceptions. People who strictly go rock crawling and they want to run a big 40 or 42 inch tire, and those guys, yeah, I agree with you. Solid axle front suspension will definitely articulate better than the IFS. But for everything else that you want to do, whether it's trail riding or fast desert or dunes or simply just driving around town, IFS takes the cake any day of the week. You know, after driving through the dunes, through the fast open desert, now up here in the mountains, done a little bit of rock crawling on the first trip I went out on, I really haven't found terrain or an environment that this truck doesn't excel in.
Is it a V6 or V8?
It's a V6 twin turbo.
Oh, look at that floater.
It does everything very well. It's very, very controlled. I've thrown it sideways into corners. I've fell down lips at 60 miles an hour that were cut diagonally, and it just recovers perfectly fine. It's so controlled. And I don't even have that with vehicles that have 20 grand in suspension modifications usually. So it's incredibly impressive how Ford has designed this vehicle to be so in control in some of the environments that it should be completely out of control. I mean, it is utter chaos driving this thing through the desert sometimes from the outside, but if you're in here, it's completely controlled. There's no weird sounds, no squeaks, no scrapes. You don't have, you know, uniball noises and Heim joints and all that stuff that you hear with aftermarket suspension. It is just dead silent, in control, and it's a lot of fun. Next up, I want to talk about the performance. And if you're thinking this thing needs a V8, you're so wrong. 418 horsepower, 440 foot-pounds of torque, and it is damn near all the time. I mean, I'm flying up a mountain road right now, mountain dirt road for that matter, at 45 miles an hour. When I would normally take up this at about 20, and that's because the suspension and the performance of this thing is so dialed in. Always in control, power on tap, whenever you need it, it's right there. I mean, it's incredible. Got a little air right there. It's like a rally car. I really don't think anybody should be going this fast up here, but it can do it, no problem. Oh, Yeah, there's really no need for a V8 in this vehicle. That V6 does all the work you need it to do. And of course, it's geared properly for a 37-inch tire. So although you have a V6 with twin turbos, it's geared to a 488 ratio, which means that you're putting all that torque down to these tires very easily. All right, so my fourth criteria for what makes the Bronco Raptor the best off-road vehicle ever produced is the chassis design and the engineering that went into the chassis. So while a lot of people may think that this is just a Bronco with a bunch of hyped up suspension and a bigger motor, that's not necessarily the case. Ford actually engineered the chassis on the Bronco Raptor to do what they intended it to do. You can't just bolt bigger shocks, bigger tires, a bigger motor, bigger axles underneath the same chassis as the other Broncos and expect it all to hold together for 100,000 miles. That's not how it works. The chassis on this had to be stiffened up. You can see up here, right behind me, there's actually a B-pillar brace that goes all the way from one side to the other, and that really helps stiffen up the chassis. At the very back of the car, there's also another brace that's a C-pillar that does the same thing, and Ford put those in there to divert the load path from the shocks all the way throughout the chassis and let them actually permeate throughout the chassis better than the regular Bronco chassis, where it doesn't actually have these braces here. So in addition to that, they actually raised up the shock mounts in the front and the back axle so that they can accommodate those larger shocks. There are a lot of little things that Ford did to engineer this chassis to really handle a lot of abuse and handle it for a long time. I mean, these vehicles, like the F-150 Raptors, they've been known to go 100,000, 150,000 without any issues whatsoever and be abused throughout the entire life of that vehicle. So Ford really did a lot of work to make sure that this Bronco Raptor could continue to perform at this level after a very long time, a lot of abuse in all different kinds of environments. They knew that their ideal customer is somebody who's not going to be nice to this vehicle. All right, so we're just making our way off the trail now, back on the pavement, and the last criteria I wanted to talk about is actually all of the luxuries that come with the Bronco Raptor. And so you may be asking, why is luxury important to an off-road vehicle? Why would you even have it on this list? And I'll tell you why. There's a ton of capable vehicles out there that can do a whole lot of cool stuff off-road. But for me, what makes the Bronco Raptor such an amazing off-road vehicle is that not only is it so capable for all the reasons I just mentioned, but it also is a very comfortable daily driver. And that really makes it that much better than anything else I've ever driven. I have at home right now a Tundra that makes 20 inches of rear travel. It's 3-linked in the rear with a panhard bar, long travel front suspension, king coilovers, you know, the whole 9 yards. It's got a full cage on the inside. It is a very capable pre-runner, but it is a terrible daily driver. So that is why I include the luxury portion of this video, because there is so much that's in this Bronco that's very, very nice. I have got heated seats, heated steering wheel. It's got a Bang & Olufsen stereo system, a ginormous head unit that has Apple CarPlay wireless. It's got a lot of the Mole interior panels that make it very modular for you to add your own accessories and stuff. I've already added a race radio to mine. It does come with a factory upfitter switches, so you can wire all of your electronics all around the vehicle, and Ford did the hard part by actually routing all that wiring to various points around the Bronco. I know this isn't specific to the Raptor, but I just had to include all of these little luxuries in there. And not to mention the seats. They're very comfortable in the Raptor. They're not as nice in the other Broncos. The Raptor seats also have the marine grade vinyl so that you can hose out the interior. I have that option on this vehicle. It's got drain plugs in the floor, the same as the Jeep Wrangler. So in addition to all of the suspension, chassis, performance, you know, all those things, it's also a very comfortable vehicle that you really can take pride in sitting in every day and driving in traffic. It is a $74,000 car MSRP if you're lucky and you're able to get it for that price. But it actually feels like a $74,000 car on the inside. It's not, so cheap and chintzy. You don't hear a bunch of rattles and tweaks and stuff. Any rattling you may have heard in this video is 100% because of my tool set in the back, and that's just bouncing around back there. So otherwise, it's a really quiet, comfortable, nice daily driver. And that's perfect for guys like me who are weekend warriors, where we drive our off-road trucks to work and back to the office Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, we want to go up and go play. So that is what just makes it so much better, because they could have easily just given this thing all the performance and capability and everything, and then left everything else the same on the inside and really didn't give it a lot of options and stuff. They could have done that to keep the price down, but Ford really wanted their customers for the Raptor to feel like they're getting a little extra on top of all this awesome capability. All right, just getting home. Had to hose the thing off too before I got back. Nothing quite like a day trip to your local trails just to get away for a little bit, right? Before we wrap it up, I wanted to show you guys one more thing that I did back here. This is the Tuffy security box for the Ford Bronco. They actually make this for Ford, and I really like it because it keeps all my tools in there nice and neat. This is a little unorganized right now. I'm still working on where to put all this stuff for the power tank, but otherwise it keeps all the tools that I need nice and locked away, and you can actually lock that. Got some mud on here, but it's nice when you have the top off of it, so you don't have to worry about anybody getting into your tools. And then of course up here we got the Project X Blizzard box. This is the 41 quart electric fridge freezer, and just got it plugged in right here. Super easy and convenient, really nice. I'm just going to figure out a mount system to hold this down to the tie downs on top of the Tuffy box, but very happy with the setup so far. That's pretty much it. I mean, I know I'm going to ruffle a lot of feathers, and a lot of people are going to disagree with my assessment of the Bronco Raptor, especially some of you Jeep guys. I know you guys are not really ready to let go of the throne yet as the best off-road vehicle ever made. But for anybody who disagrees with me, I just want to ask you to go drive one. And don't just go drive it like a modified Jeep Wrangler or something like that. I mean, really, really go drive this thing and push it past your own limits, push it past the limits that you think the vehicle's got, because I guarantee you, you will be surprised just as I was the first time I got behind the wheel of this in the dirt. Definitely missed the spot here on the rear bumper, but that's okay. I'll give her another wash tomorrow and make sure it's all nice and cleaned up. I just wanted to hose off some of the dust. But otherwise, I'm very, very happy with the Recon Grapplers and the 37, 12, 50, 17 here on this thing, bone stock otherwise. It's just such a reliable tire, very strong sidewall, and they're very predictable. So you basically just know what they're going to do in almost any environment. That's what I love so much about my Nittos. But that is going to do it for us today, you guys, on Chasing Dust. I appreciate you guys following along and checking out my new project. I can't wait to start working on it and getting some more stuff on there. I have a few more modifications lined up for this, but I'm sure it's going to be one of those builds that just keeps evolving as time goes on. I can't wait to show you guys all the cool places I'm going to take this and all the fun trail rides that we're going to be doing with this, as well as probably some longer adventures as well. But until next time, you guys, this has been Matt McAdam, your host of Chasing Dust, only on Driving Line, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching Driving Line. If you guys like this video, consider subscribing to our channel so you'll never miss any of the content we create here. Whether you're into trucks, Jeeps, imports, domestic vehicles, or anything in between, we are here to fuel your passion. So hit that subscribe button and we'll see you guys next time.